Hey, this is Kaja Elliott, Bronx born and raised, ATL made, Bay Area becoming, and this is the As Told By podcast. I'm so glad to be back on season 2 of the As Told By podcast.
By the way, on season 2.
Thank you. Okay, so let me just give like a quick little blurb. So season 1 was a blur, right? Because I was kind of trying to figure out what I was doing as it was happening, and still am, right? I do not have it all figured out yet. But I was so glad when season 1 came to an end, not because I hated it, but because it was time for me to just reflect and listen back to all the episodes. And like, Kaja, you really want to keep doing this? Do you like it? And I actually do. I actually do. And then I started thinking about, okay, well, how can you improve season 2? So I have a few things that I'm throwing in. I got an intro that I'm going to put on the front. I probably will not keep this season to 6 episodes.
Okay.
I will go beyond that because I found there's more than 6 people I wanted to talk to.
Okay.
And I think it tripped me out, like 1 or 2 people who I didn't know directly reached out and was like, oh, I heard the podcast and I liked it. And I was like, you did? I tried not to answer it like that. But I was like, oh, you did? Oh, thank you. So I'm glad that it has some reach. I'm glad that people have gotten to know each other through the episodes, right? Or just have gotten to hear other people's stories. So
I saw that you did that dinner at the end where you brought your guests back. And I thought, first of all, just such a beautiful, classy, just excellent, exquisite. That was Black excellence. And I was glad to see it. But then how great for all of your guests to have an opportunity to meet each other.
Yeah, thank you, Cassandra. It's so it's so funny you say that. If y'all listen to season 1 or if you follow me on Instagram, you know that my favorite podcast is Ratchet and Respectable, hosted by Demetria L. Lucas. And I thought, I ended season 1 with that dinner to get everybody to know each other. And that was the respectable part of me. Season 2's wrap up will be completely ratchet.
Do I get to come?
Absolutely.
Oh, hell yeah.
All the guests. And then I'm going to broaden it to people who were not on the podcast.
Okay.
So I'm planning.
we're gonna get.
Listen.
Okay.
It's going to be on the ratchet side.
I am so excited about that. I could do ratchet every once in a while.
Hey.
It's not my everyday, but I could do ratchet.
It's not my everyday, but I try to hit it, at least 4 out of 7.
Yeah.
4 out of 7 days of the week. I'm like, I need to get my ratcheticity in there. But we're back. Season 2 of the As Told By podcast. If you are just joining in season 2, I am Kaja Elliott, the host of the podcast. Please feel free to go ahead and get caught up on season 1. But we're back with our first episode today. I'm going to let my guest introduce herself.
Oh, goodness.
And I'll just give like a quick line. Some of you may know her from Instagram. Some of you may know her in person. I hope you all get to know her and her material and her projects and her passions after this. So I will let you, when we finish with our co-star, here we are again. The co-star of almost every episode last season was Oakland. There with the sirens.
Shout out to Oakland.
We all back.
Big up to Oakland.
But yes, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh my goodness. So this is always the hard part because I'm not sure what I should say, but my name is Cassandra Delynn. I'm 42. I'm here in the Bay. I technically live in Castro Valley, but I do claim Oakland. Let's see what else. So I am a mother of 2, and I have a son and a daughter, Jackson and Savannah, and they're perfect. They're perfect. I love my children. But I'm a fitness professional. Founded my company, Ori-Ara, late last year, and we service women. We service women in all of and everything they need to be well. But my background is in corporate. I spent about 20 years in corporate in human resources as well. We were just talking before the show about how challenging human resources is. And my God, I feel that. I feel all of that. My most recent position was as the VP of HR for a company, a services company, where during the pandemic, it was my employees that were in the grocery stores stocking shelves. So if you remember the time where, no one knew what was going on, you felt like you were going to die from everything. Like I was managing.
Wiping down the groceries.
Yes. Exactly. I was managing all of those employees through that. So HR took its toll on me too. It for sure took its toll on me. So now though I'm still doing that part-time consulting, but I'm full-time entrepreneur in this world, doing this thing with Ori-Ara, trying to make it happen, but really excited about bringing these services to women.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you're here.
Me too.
I think I told you that there is now a running comment between me and my trainer as he gives me exercises to do, and some of them are a little more challenging than I'm capable of. And he'll give me a modification, and I'll be like, would you give Cassandra that modification? I've had him follow you because if you don't know Cassandra personally, I know she said 42, but like 42 where Cassandra she's not only she is a great person, but she's super beautiful. And she is just like the picture of fitness and wellness. And we're going to get to more of that kind of your history and, what your evolution in fitness has been. But I'm so glad that you're here.
Me too.
Yes.
I always love to see your face.
Thank you.
Your face is so warm and so welcoming and so just like, I told you that. I was like, I just want to see your face.
Thank you, Cassandra.
So invite me anytime, anywhere, to anything.
Absolutely. So we'll jump right in. I would love to hear from you what some of your early experiences were around feelings about your body. So, it's coming up as a young woman, we're getting messages. Did you feel happy with it? Did you feel like you wanted to change it? And what were some of the early societal messages you remember around what it meant to have a nice body?
Man, so I'm learning this word more and more, but I was very disembodied as a teenager and very disembodied as a young woman, meaning that I navigated this world without really feeling or paying attention to or being like having presence in my body. I was very disembodied growing up. Even though I play a little bit of sports, my school wasn't big into athletic competition. It was more academic. So I played a little bit of sports. And you would think that would bring some awareness, but it didn't. Going through, puberty and all of that, I just felt like my body was there and I am here. For some reason, they were different, separate things. And then my first awareness, though, of my body, really like realizing, oh my gosh, I've got physical form and I might have some control over it, wasn't until college. And it was because my legs were big. That was my first awareness, and being embarrassed about having bigger legs. So I grew up in a Christian private school, mostly white. I was one of, like 6 chocolate drops, and I'm not even that chocolate. I was a caramel drop.
So that was already,
right?
Okay.
Yeah. So I grew up in a Christian private school. The school and the religion of the school that I went to was vegetarian. So if you can imagine, a lot of the bodies that I grew up around were very thin. They were definitely white, but very thin. And that was just what my worldview and perspective was on what normal was. And it was pretty much, I went to a similar Christian private college, so it didn't get that much better. It got a little bit better in terms of my exposure, but not much. And it was there that I realized I had big legs. I had no idea I had big legs before. And so it was jarring, and it was like, oh, and I didn't know if I should be embarrassed about that. I just remember having that realization and not realizing before that I had a body that men or women paid attention to. And so, and the other reason why, because in high school, I wore uniforms. So we all looked the same. And so there wasn't a lot for differentiation. And so when I got to college and started wearing my own clothes and my legs stuck out and people commented on my legs and commented on my ass, I was like, oh, I have a body, and it was a curvy body. And I just remember being shocked by that, and then not knowing what to do with it.
Got it. And I can't relate specifically, but I can completely empathize with being one of the only.
Yeah. Right.
At a time where, and we'll get into this a little bit later too, but at a time where a curvy body was not the thing. It was, this was not like body positivity. This was, pre BBL, Kardashian, i.e. Black women aesthetics. So having to manage that under the white gaze.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. And the religion of the school that I went to was very much about health and well-being, which is why the religion is vegetarian. And so having, not that you needed to fit into a specific aesthetic, but that was
That's just what it bred.
Culture. That's just what it bred.
Yeah.
Exactly. You had no choice.
Got it.
Yeah.
So when did you first start to, because let me step back for a minute before I answer this question. What I appreciate about you is that you are not just speaking about wellness from the perspective of you need to work out, you need to have a six pack, you need to look a certain way or lift a certain thing or have a certain workout regimen, but you really are speaking to the connection between mind and body wellness, right? So from a more holistic standpoint. So when did you first start to understand that there was more to physical health and fitness than just watching what you eat and exercising?
Oh my gosh, when I experienced it, when I got the body of my dreams and I couldn't get happy to save my life.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wait a minute. I'm shocked to hear that, because as a person who has gained and lost significant amounts of weight, 60, 70, 80 pounds and beyond, I'm like, okay, well, when you get your body, we on now, right? It's like, y'all better watch out. But you said you got the body of your dreams and it still didn't make you happy.
Correct.
Huh.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, let's hear that.
It's coming out more. We're talking about it more, I think, kind of like in general as a society, but we really overestimate the value of a look. Let me just get back to myself and not say we, but I thought that getting a certain look would make me acceptable. Growing up as one of the only, Black people in a mostly white community, I was always feeling left out, always feeling different than, and that carried, even when I left that environment, that self-identity stayed with me throughout all of my adulthood. Even until today, I still feel like the black sheep of everywhere I go. And I thought that, that beyond the race factor, that there's other things about me that if I could just do, I would fit in. I would feel accepted. I would feel like everybody else, like we're all striving to be accepted. And I thought that getting a certain look would do that. I thought that getting skinny or getting in shape would help me feel like I'm accepted into these different environments that I was finding myself in. And then when I got the body and I realized I still did not feel accepted, it was a different sort of, I guess, pain that I realized I had to face. It wasn't the exterior. It wasn't, you weren't accepted. The pain of the realization that you weren't ever accepted, not because of how you look, but because of something else, right? When that hit me, it's like, okay, I look the part, so I'm going to walk into these rooms and everyone's going to love me. And when I didn't get the reception or the feedback that I thought I was going to get from that forced me to look at, well, if it's not how I look, there's something else going on. And that sent me down this rabbit hole for like all of the rest of my career up until today. I'm still heavily invested in always uncovering what's going on inside that tells me these stories, or what's going on inside that has me showing up to the world in which I get a specific or particular type of response or set of feedback. But to answer your question, I realized that when I looked the part and I was not happy. And that's when it became really super clear that the transformation that needed to happen wasn't to my body. It was to my mindset, to my state of mind, how I viewed myself, and to the degree that I loved myself. That's really the transformation that needed to take place. Ultimately it did, but I didn't understand that at first.
Yeah. And a lot of that, as you talk about it, a lot of that ties into Ori-Ara.
Oh, absolutely. That's what Ori-Ara is founded on, is 100% understanding that what I learned is that through my body, not because of my body, but through my body, I could find self-love and I can find appreciation. I'm still awed at the fact that with everything that we're born into this world with, we're born with just this body. It is so magical and so powerful. And so my mission with Ori-Ara is to teach women how through your body, not because of your body, but how through your body, you could fall so deeply, madly in love with yourself and come to appreciate yourself. And then when that happens, the exterior has no choice but to follow and suit. Our exterior world is always a reflection of our interior. So as soon as you start to find that self-love, your body has no choice but to transform.
Yeah, and for you to stop hating on it. We hate on our bodies so much and we don't realize it.
Yeah.
And for people who are always, or may always have a focus on that coming externally, but a lot of that comes internally, and it can be so subtle, right? I I remember going places in double Spanx. And I would
Oh,
damn near be an
Jesus.
organ
How do you
failure. Like,
sit?
I cannot drink.
Yeah.
Don't even try to use the bathroom. I
Yeah.
could barely breathe.
Wow.
I was snatched. But, you know, even that, and just that minuscule form, you think you're doing something, you know, to help you or to just, you know, be conscientious of the way you come across. But even that can be, you know, construed as a form of hating on your body. You know, it took me a while to get to a place where I would see larger women like out with crop tops, and you know, your things are hanging out and hanging over. And initially, it's that look like, is that the best thing? But over time, and more so recently, I'm like, look, girl, do you? Because in a minute, I'm gonna let the beast loose with y'all.
Right.
I'm gonna be right out here with y'all.
Right. But it's the confidence in which you see anybody wearing an outfit that makes the look. You can see someone who's got a snatched little body, but if she's walking around uncomfortable and exuding that energy, she does not look attractive. She does not look, you know, so it really isn't. It's about the confidence, honestly, that you carry in anything that you wear.
Absolutely. You talked a bit about like the transformation of your body over time and then that not having the ultimate impact that you thought it would have.
Yeah.
And, you know, speaking of transformation, I know that you spent some years doing professional level bodybuilding.
Yeah.
So what led you to start that? And just for people, I think for most of us, we kind of see that. I don't know how many of us know someone, particularly a Black woman, who has competed in professional bodybuilding. So what is that arena like? How did you get into it? And okay, so let me layer this question.
Okay.
What was the experience like? How did you get into it? And then what was it like transitioning your mind and body out of the status it needed to be in to be successful in that area?
I love all of those questions. So the experience was magical. I still am tempted to go back every once in a while because of how magical it was. I thought that I had never seen women who looked like that before. So actually, I'm going to answer your questions in reverse because it was, I'm going to answer how I got started and then go into the experience, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I, like most people, struggled with losing the baby weight. You know, I was never really overweight, you know, the only times I was really overweight was when I was pregnant. I was always just thick. I was never, you know, overweight. So, but I struggled losing the baby weight with my son, my last child. And I remember being so frustrated and like literally crying just because I didn't understand how this works. Like, how do women snap back? This is back when everyone was trying to snap back.
Yeah.
I was so frustrated. And anyways, I had started doing Beachbody videos. I was at home doing jumping lunges at like 4 a.m. because that's when I used to work out in front of my infant son. He was, you know, a baby, an infant in his car seat watching me. And I was making funny faces, trying to make him laugh while I was doing these jumping lunges.
Yeah.
And I dislocated my knee.
Oh.
And I was pissed because I was just starting to see some changes in my body. So I Googled ways in which you could work out without hurting your knee. And I stumbled across bodybuilding.com. And I was in awe of the women that I saw there. I didn't know women could look like that. And I didn't have any frame of reference. I don't know what I thought before. I just remember seeing these images and being like, now that I know that's possible, I've got to figure out how to do it. So I went back to Google searching and I found a code.
Yeah,
shout out to Oakland.
Go ahead. I'm
There's
sorry.
some dude on his motorcycle out there having a great
I
day.
mean,
I'm not
listen,
mad at him though. It's a beautiful day out.
I'm gonna start inviting these people up.
But so I Googled and I just so happened to find like the only bodybuilding trainer in like a 20-mile radius was operating like 5 minutes away from me, and she happened to be a Black woman.
Okay.
I know, and so I was like, yes, this is.
Wait,
all
she was
signs
already
from God.
involved
She
in
was
bodybuilding?
already involved in bodybuilding.
Okay.
An experienced coach, had a team of Black women that were doing bodybuilding. I'm like, this is the universe speaking to me. I'm supposed to do this.
Oh, yeah.
Now, mind you, I'm broke. I don't have any money, but I don't let that stop me. I just single-minded. So anyways, I joined the team and I started bodybuilding. The first moment I stepped on stage, it changed my life. It's changed my life. And I'm not a stage person. I'm not a stage person. So this was the first time I'd ever put myself out there like that. But the fear of being looked at and the fear of being judged, and you're quite literally being judged.
Yeah.
All of that fear melted away in the face of celebrating what I had accomplished. Like, it completely overcame any fear that I was experiencing. And then the experience of being in bodybuilding shows is nothing that I've ever been a part of. You would look at those women, and I remember thinking they must have chefs and nannies and all sorts of support. I don't have any of that. I don't know how I'm going to do. I work, I'm not a stay-at-home mom. Have all of these self-limiting beliefs, all of these judgments about these women, until you get to the shows and you have to hang out backstage for a long time until it's your turn
Waiting
to
for
go
your
on
turn,
stage. Yeah. And backstage you're getting dressed up, you're doing hair, makeup, tanning, oiling, like you're doing all sorts of stuff to get ready for the stage. And it is such a sisterhood, and it is so beautiful, and it is so fun. And you meet some of the most amazing women. You meet doctors and lawyers and stay-at-home moms and teachers and cashiers. You meet women from all over the world. They're Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, all socioeconomic backgrounds, and it feels like a sorority. It feels like a sisterhood, and that's what had me continue to go back, was the normalization of this lifestyle and these bodies by women who were just like me in many ways and very different from me in many ways, but just the fact that we had this in common. And so the experience of bodybuilding, I did it for several times a year for 5 years. And over that 5 years, I grew or transformed physically, definitely. There's no doubt about it. But the transformation that I really went through was as a woman, as a mother, as a human. The
discipline that it brought,
oh my goodness, the discipline. I can talk forever about discipline. But really, like, my love of discipline. I really love discipline, and maybe we can circle back to that. But
let's. I'm going to make a note because I think we
discipline.
should.
Discipline is so underestimated and so underrated. But the experience of it was magical in the sense that it normalized. It brought down to earth these people, these women that you see on the covers of magazines, and they feel so distant and so different than you. But when you get backstage and you meet them, you realize they deal with kids peeing in the bed. They are microwaving popcorn at midnight sometimes too. They're, dealing with all the same stresses, and it made it feel doable.
Yeah. I think the point you made about there being so many different women, not just across race and ethnicity, but socioeconomic status. And I think what's interesting about that is, regardless of kind of where you fall in that spectrum, if you can control nothing else, right, you can control your body. And that could be the thing that's a common thread between, that sport of bodybuilding attracting people from all of these different pockets of life, is that this could be the thing that you have control over when maybe you can't control your family dynamic or your, your ability to draw a certain kind of income or whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's a very positive way of looking at it. And that's how I looked at it. But I mean, so on both ends of the spectrum, there was women there who were bodybuilders because they struggled with eating disorders. And as opposed to it being a destructive thing in their life, they transmuted it to be a powerful, empowering thing in their life. And so you saw women get out of eating disorders because they learned how to love their body through working on it, through literally physically working on it, and gain weight and do it healthfully. And on the opposite end of that, you had women who came in without eating disorders, but left with eating disorders because they became so obsessed with the control that they had over their body. So, but this goes to show that the body and achieving that look isn't the thing. It's what's inside of you that motivates it. It doesn't leave you, right? So if you're looking for control if you're looking for control over something or over your body, if you come into bodybuilding and do well at it, that sense of control can end up being a good or a bad thing. I guess the point I'm trying to make is it still goes back to the individual. It's not about achieving the body.
It's the button it pushes in you.
It's the
control could be a great
That's
thing.
Such a great way of saying it.
And it could be the thing that sends you over the edge as well.
It really can. Yeah.
Well, let's go back to that point that you made around discipline, because, if anything, professional bodybuilding does require, I would imagine, a tremendous sense of discipline, not just with what you physically do and what you eat, but just the mentality that you have to be in to kind of stay the course, to remain competitive. But then also, as you started to wind down from doing that and you're used to operating on that level of discipline, but you're not going for that look, or you're not going for, the ability to be able to compete on that stage anymore, how did you start to wind down off of that scene just back onto the regular day-to-day of eating and living healthily?
That's a great question. I'm so glad you brought that up because people don't think about that. A lot of people want to get into bodybuilding because they see the end result, but they don't realize that stage look is not the end result. The stage look is quite literally the middle. You have to reverse, why am I forgetting what it's called? But you have to reverse diet off of bodybuilding.
Wait a minute. What's the reverse diet?
You have to reverse diet and reverse exercise because everything you're doing is leading up to that one day on stage. Okay. It's all for that one day. And when you hit that day, you're not going to want to continue on the path that you've been on because in those last couple of weeks or that last week called peak week, you're eating atrocious meals every single day. And so you don't want to stay on that. And so if you've got a good coach, so people listening, if you want to bodybuild, make sure, and you're vetting coaches, make sure you talk to your coach about rolling off the show. That's what it's called, is how do you roll off the show, which means you reverse dieting and reverse exercising. So reverse dieting is because you've cut your calories down to something very, very minimal. The macros, the protein, carbs, and fats that you're eating are very specific to achieve that look on that day. And it's very minimal. So to roll off of that, you're going to want to gradually increase your carbs, gradually increase your fats, gradually increase everything on a set schedule over time so that you don't come off your show, eat everything in sight because you're excited that that day is past
through all the
and
food.
Blow the F up. And you see that happen all the time. You see bodybuilders who do not look like bodybuilders anymore because they didn't have someone wise enough to coach them. And the same thing with cardio. So you're doing, depending on your coach, you could be doing, an hour of cardio every day leading up to the show. When you hit show day, you don't want it to stop doing cardio. You slow that down. So the next day in the gym, maybe you're only doing 30 minutes of cardio. And then eventually you go back to whatever is maintenance for you. But there is a process. So that's the whole technical speak that I want people who are aspiring bodybuilders to know, because that's one of the major downfalls, I think, of coaches and people knowing what to ask for, and people have a terrible experience because of that. Now, more specifically, I guess what I'll say or add is that for me, the last year of bodybuilding, I already knew was going to be my last year.
Okay.
I was getting sick of it, the dieting piece. I was getting sick of that part. Not because of the discipline, but because I knew it was the only way I knew to be healthy. And we mistake health and fitness. And I was making that mistake. I was fit. I was not healthy.
Okay.
And I could begin to feel that. Yeah. I was fit. I could lift heavy weights and put them down. I could flex my muscles. I was eating enough protein, carbs, and fats to look really, really good and perform physically well. But I wasn't eating a lot of vegetables. My micronutrients were trash. I wasn't healthy. And I was beginning to feel the effects of that in that fourth year of bodybuilding. So by the time I hit year 5, I knew I was going to be slowing down and stopping. And, all of that is to say that I was already looking for ways. I just knew in my head it had to be easier. I was looking for ways to eat whatever I wanted, to never count a calorie again, to never weigh my food again, to never have to carry my meals around with me again. I was aching for that lifestyle. And so the last 5 years have been exploring what that looks like, playing with food, whole natural foods, and discovering for myself what works and what doesn't work to maintain the energy and the physique and the health and all of the above without counting things. So I got really into that and discovered for myself that you don't have to be a neurotic number counter in order to have a healthy body. And that was really, really important to me.
That's difficult.
It is
when
difficult.
You have to carry your meals around and
gosh.
weigh and count everything. Food is such an experiential thing for me. Right?
It is. I love watching you and all of your meals. And
I'll be on social media. I swear I do things besides eat. I swear it is not what it looks like.
Every time I see you someplace, I'm like, damn, I need to call me next time. You always find the best places.
Oh, man. But it's such an experience. It's social, and there's a cultural component to it, and there's an educational component to it. So when I hear you talk about having to carry your food and weigh your food and count everything out, I'm like, just prepared. I know y'all know you would never see me bodybuilding because I don't have the discipline. Yeah. I love what it represents.
Yeah.
And I certainly respect the health outcomes of it, but the discipline part,
Yeah,
I ain't
it's
got it.
intense. I just knew that there had to be a better way. I knew that I wanted to come back to the industry and help women, but I didn't want to teach them how to count macros. I didn't want to teach them how to count calories because that's not sustainable. You can't live your everyday life like that. And that's another thing people don't realize, that a lot of the super fit influencers that they're seeing on Instagram and Facebook and on the covers of these magazines, they're eating very specific diets to get to photo shoot day. They're eating very specific diets to shoot all their content. Like that's very normal. That's not every day. And so
It's just a means to a specific end.
it's a means to a specific end. Like you've heard the controversy over Lori Harvey and the 1,200 calorie diet she did to show up at the Met Gala. And then there was Kim Kardashian, who lost the weight for the what's her name's dress?
The Marilyn Monroe's
dress. And then a few years ago, there was Beyonce when she got ready for Coachella. People are going on these crazy strict diets to show up for these events and these days.
Yeah.
And we look at that and think that that's every day and that's normal, and it's not.
And it's not. You know, I had heard just kind of in the ether about Lori Harvey, and I saw the photos of her from the Met Gala. I just thought, maybe naively so, that she's dating Michael B. Jordan, who we know to be very fit and very cut. And I just thought, you know, usually when you get with someone who's living and eating and working out on a certain level, either somebody's coming down or somebody's going up.
She went up. So
and she went up, right.
She was saying that in weight. She was saying that she gained 15 pounds or 20 pounds when they first met. All that, you know.
Well, no, I mean,
love
either
weight.
somebody's coming down to your fitness practices or somebody is moving up to
Yeah.
the person's fitness practices. So please, as you come hang around me, you might be coming down. But that's what I attributed that to. And then later heard that no, she had gone on, you know, a restrictive or, you know, a calorie restrictive eating plan for, you know, a period of time. But I mean, I can see both sides of that. I remember watching Homecoming and watching Beyonce talk about what her eating plan would be during that thing. And in my mind, and again, it's different like with who we apply it to, right? Had that been Bianca, you know, in the neighborhood, I'd be like, oh, girl, you need to eat. But when you think about Beyonce and you couple that with the showmanship and the work ethic that we kind of all know her for, I guess it didn't really register as such, but it really is all variations of the same thing.
It's variations of the same thing.
Yeah.
And I just think it's important that people know that people do this, and it shouldn't be demonized because they decide to be super disciplined for a period of time to arrive for an event. Just don't mistake that for being everyday life.
day.
That's not everyday life. You can eat with so much more freedom, and I've made that a practice. And now, you know, part of my business, but discipline is something that I think needs to be redefined in terms of like our kind of everyday casual thinking about it. I redefined discipline for myself years ago, and it really changed everything because discipline is a luxury. Discipline is a privilege. Human adults are the only people that get to exercise discipline. Animals are subject to instinct. They have to react. They're not able to strategically discipline themselves. They're all about just doing what's needing to be done. And then that's the human side. The adult side is because we're not babies. We're not naive. We don't not know. You know, we're not subject to just ignorance. And so as a
and we have agency over what we're being presented.
And sovereignty.
Yeah.
And so as human adults, it is a privilege to have the ability to exercise discipline over something that we want. That is you saying, this is what I want the most, and protecting it fiercely. It's you protecting with everything you have available to you as a human adult to say, this is what I want, and I'm going to have it. That is what discipline is. It's not about, you know, it hurting you to get what you want. It's about you deciding what you want the most and protecting it fiercely.
It's slightly different from willpower.
It's very different than willpower. Willpower is willpower is usually when you don't want to do something. Willpower has the additional element, right? Of like, you are willing it. You're trying to make something happen versus discipline coming from, like I said, is deciding what you want the most.
Yes. I think that's so key to illustrate the difference because I got willpower when I feel like it. I have willpower in spades, but it's the discipline, right? That I'm working
and
on
most
developing.
people, when it comes to their health and fitness, most people are willpowering it. They think they want to be fit. So it's like, okay, let me go do the diet. Let me go do the exercise. And before we get there, the true work that needs to be done is deciding what you really want. Why are you exercising? And why are you going to try and eat healthy? What's behind that?
Yeah.
And then anchoring anchoring those behaviors into that desire or into that value or into that thing, that goal that you're after. When you anchor these behaviors to that internal drive, it's no longer willpower. That is you deciding what you want the most and exercising agency over your ability to get it.
Yeah, it really is the lifestyle.
It is.
It really is. I used to hate that phrase. Well, it's not just working out; it's a lifestyle. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get this lifestyle for the next 60 days. But that's not.
That goes back to people, and when you put a time frame on it, that goes back to people saying, okay, I want to get I want to get fit for this thing, as opposed to what do you really want? Are you getting fit because you want love? Are you getting fit because you want confidence? That's not going to happen. That doesn't end in 60 days.
Yes.
So when you think about making it into a lifestyle, it's not because it's meant to be more torturous.
Right. And you can give yourself a little bit of damn grace if it's a lifestyle thing, because if you are on a 60-day plan and you fuck up day 40 to 45, there's a loss to that, right? Now you got a net negative. If it's a lifestyle, 5 days in the broader scheme of life is not a huge thing.
Nothing.
So you could take the damn pressure off.
Nothing. Yeah. No, absolutely. So I haven't been in the gym pretty much all of May. Like I'll go in and do yoga, but I haven't been lifting like this. I've decided to give my body a rest, and I actually had an injury not long ago. But in any case, I haven't been in the gym. There is not an ounce of me. There's not an ounce of me that is stressing over the fact that I'm not lifting. Other people who are on a diet or a program and they take a month off, they're going to freak out. Oh my God, I'm going to gain the weight. Like it's all of this negative self-defeating thoughts going through your head when you realize that you're not going to do whatever for a month. And in my mind, I'm just like, it's like what we're talking about. It's like, it's a blip in the grand scheme of things. It's a blip.
That's right. That discipline, work in progress.
It's okay.
Yes.
It really helps. So I am blessed in the sense that I'm a person who my life is run off of passion. And I know in our class, we have a class, passion's not a good thing, but I run off of passion. And so there's nothing in my life that I don't want to do. And I encourage, so it's easy for me to exercise discipline because everything I do are things that I want to be doing.
Okay.
So I always try to get people, sup Oakland?
Hey.
I always try to get people to forget about the working out and the eating stuff right now. What do you want? It starts there. Because when you decide what you want, the lifestyle will come. The lifestyle will come, the discipline will come, but let's figure out what you want first.
Yeah. If you build it, it will come.
If you build it, it will come.
Yes. So just to transition to a different topic. In recent years, there's been a lot of societal adjustment to, finally start to broaden the definition of what a healthy body could look like, right? And with that, there's been a real emphasis on feeling good in whatever body you have. We talked a little bit about the whole movement of body positivity. Do you think that kind of focus or that kind of narrative has led to people just settling and feeling like I don't have to push for any improvement of my body because we're just in this period of accepting whatever body you have?
Yes. Let me just make that clear. Yes. Okay. I feel it's devolving us as a society. And I wanted to answer that directly so it doesn't sound like I'm beating around the bush with what I'm about to say.
Okay.
I want to make, because I feel very strongly about that. I don't think it's doing us any favors. I think that the idea, the sentiment behind it is absolutely, it's a good idea. It's right on, and I support the idea. The execution of it by the people who are executing it leaves a lot to be desired, right? There was literally this woman on Instagram the other day who said, any person who says that they want to lose 20 pounds is fat phobic. She's one of these.
Wait, say that again?
Any person who says they want to lose 20 pounds is fat phobic.
Okay.
So she's one of these, influencers in the body positivity movement and is upset when people say they want to lose weight because then that must mean that you
have
don't.
A problem. I got it.
So people like her and sentiment like that, I think, do the movement an injustice. And so that's why I tried to make that distinction. But in any case, I'm trying to think how I want to explain this. So I'll start here and say that the body positivity movement is going to be necessary because where we are as a society. For the first time in generations, we have an entire generations of people being born into obesity. That has not happened before. Most people were born in average or sometimes even below weight, like children failing to thrive because of lack of nutrition used to be a thing. Now we've got kids failing to thrive because they're I'm not even sure if nutrition's the right word, but they're overfed and we're overdoing it.
Yeah.
And so we've got generations and generations of kids being brought up who've never known anything differently. And it's not their fault. And I think it's really important that because we're birthing people or children into this environment, that they should be taught positivity about who they are and love themselves no matter what they look like, no matter what. Like, I think that idea and that movement, even for older adults, I think it's absolutely important that you not like judge and hate yourself. Like, there's no value in that. You have to love yourself. However, actually, before I even go there, and I do absolutely believe that health does come in many different shapes and sizes. Being skinny is not necessarily healthy. I don't believe that on any level. I believe that health comes in larger and smaller bodies. And so identifying what healthy looks and feels like for you if you're in a larger body is important. Now, with all of that being said, I also feel like it's the body positivity movement. We're focusing too much on the body and not the health. I wish there was a movement just not focusing on the body. I wish that the movement was everybody get healthy. Everyone just,
and that means different things for different people.
That means different things for different people. That means, but learn how to feel comfortable in your body. Learn how to learn your body. I think that's the biggest movement that we need, is that we're all growing up, new school and old school, not having received lessons on how to care for our body. We might have had a health class in high school, but barely, right? But outside of that, we're never taught. And so I wish that with all of the messaging and the media around this subject, I wish it was about teaching us how to live in these bodies, how to live in this modern world with all this fast food, with all of this convenience. I wish the conversation was about how to navigate this, as opposed to don't worry about it, you're good, Right. And I feel like that's the wrong focus for the body positivity movement.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And I think it nullifies the message that you can love your body and want to change it at the same time.
Absolutely. You can be a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time. And I think that gets lost on not just the body positivity movement in larger bodies, but also whatever shape you're in. People assume that if you're a smaller bodied person, that you naturally are going to feel good about, how you look, that, oh, you're skinny, you should be fine.
Right.
And that's not the case. So to your point, it really is about loving wherever you're at, big or small, but still motivated and inspired and allowed to make changes to improve your body.
Yeah. You have to like the starting point, though. If you
absolutely.
don't enjoy lemons, you will not like lemonade.
Yeah.
You have to like where you are starting from.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to love it. Your body hears you. Your body hears you. Can I do a quick exercise with you just to point this out? Because people don't understand how much your internal narrative affects you. So I'm just going to have you stick your hand out straight, just like that.
Okay.
So I'm going to say a bunch of negative things to you. Okay. And imagine you saying these things to yourself, right? I hate you. You're ugly. You're not worthy. I can't stand you. Okay. Now, I was able to push your hand down. Now put your hand back up, hold it strong, and I'm going to do this again.
Okay.
I love you. You are so beautiful. I can't believe how gorgeous you are. It's a different kind of strength, right? How much easier was I able
to push
down? Or how much easier was it for you to hold your arms steady and straight?
Much easier the second time.
Much easier the second time. Now, that is a physiological response. Our muscles are physiologically responding to that verbal input. Now, that is for me outside of you. And that's how your body's responding. Imagine what happens when you have that narrative going on inside of your head. You have to love yourself. Otherwise, your body is not going to cooperate. And that was what that exercise was. So inside your head, if you're eating, you could be eating good and be on the treadmill for an hour a day. But if that internal narrative is negative, if you don't love yourself, it's not going to work.
Absolutely. You have to be able to suspend those meetings. Be whole
Exactly.
whole committee meetings happening in your
They gotta
mind,
go.
and they have got
gotta
to
go.
go. I remember some time ago, Iyanla Van Zant talking about like she would do physical things to interrupt those meetings, like stomp her feet or something to
Get up and
break
leave.
that chain of conversation
I've
going
done
on
that.
in your
I've been
mind.
sitting there beating myself up. I'll literally stand up and walk away.
Whew. Bars and tips. I know that your wellness practice includes as much mind building as muscle building.
Yeah.
So talk a bit about your quote unquote life diet and the things that you flat out avoid.
I'm gonna have to take that
Come
life
on, life
diet.
diet.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, talk about your life diet and the things that you flat out avoid to maintain your sense of wellness and peace.
Ooh, that's a good one. I don't know if there's anything that I flat out avoid in terms of the life piece. Like there's foods that I flat out avoid.
Or just like ways of being, ways of thinking.
Yeah. So my life, God, I really love that. My life diet is very peaceful. I've been very intentional about what I wanted my life to look like, and that goes back to what I was saying before about really spending a moment and figuring out what you want, because that really will dictate the actions, or the actions take on new meaning when you know what you want. And I imagine me living the life kind of like I have right now, actually. So my life diet includes my morning routine. I'm really big into and teach a lot on routine. So I've got a 2-hour morning routine that I do every single morning that sets me right. It's reading, it's journaling, and it's meditating. I work out obviously every day, either yoga or lifting, sometimes both. And it's not because the physical exercise is necessary. That's part of my life diet, especially the yoga. I don't do yoga to get into shape. Yoga is another form of meditation. It is the processing of thoughts. I try to practice yoga at the end of my day where I've got all of this stuff going on in my head and I need to find solutions. So I will move my body, because as I move my body, the solutions are coming to me. The answers are coming through. I'm processing difficult thoughts or emotions, the things that have been stuck there for that day or in previous days or weeks. They're all being processed through with the breath and the movement. Really big on my plants. My life
We
diet,
were talking
absolutely,
about that,
yeah. My life diet absolutely includes plants because, one, I think it's important to nurture things as a discipline, as a practice. I think it's important to communicate love to something and you receive love back. Plants are super easy because they don't talk back. They don't give you attitude. So I spend time pouring love into plants so that they can nurture me back. And with plants specifically, just having life in my home is so important to me. I wanted to feel it with life. There's energy there. You can't have dead energy in my home. As soon as you step across the threshold into my house, you will feel the life, and no bad moods can exist there because the energy, the positive energy, will drown it out. And so my life diet includes that. I'm trying to think what else. I'm also a really big consumer of positive information, though. I have a steady loop of something. It's either positive information or nothing. If I'm driving or puttering around the house, it's either going to be an audiobook, a TED Talk, a podcast, something that's going to fill me with something, or it's dead silence so that I can process thoughts and think and daydream and visualize and be excited about just whatever, appreciate, I have that's another thing. I have a strong appreciation practice. I do a couple of times a day because what I discovered, or what I know to be true, is appreciation. When you can enter into a deep state of appreciation is proof of everything that you've accomplished. It leaves no room for fear or doubt about what you can accomplish going forward. So with the phase where I'm at in life right now, and I'm trying to accomplish a lot, staying in appreciation for what I have is me constantly reminding myself that I've done it. I've gotten here, and I can do it again, whatever it is. So a strong appreciation practice. I'm trying to think what else. What I stay away from is probably the opposite of those things. I don't like consuming a lot of negative stuff. Like my Instagram feed, I go through pretty regularly now and clean up and just make sure that it's always reflecting what my current state is, because we have those bad days or months and weeks where, you know, everything, where we're on Instagram, we're spending time paying attention to and liking and saving content that is appropriate for that moment, but not be necessarily where you want to go with your life, right? It could be a relationship thing. It could be even just shopping. If I get too going on a shopping spree, I get way too many ads on shopping stuff. So going through and paying attention to what I'm consuming. And so right now on my timeline, both Instagram and Facebook, it's a lot of puppies and kittens, because I got caught up somehow in that algorithm, and I love it. So I'm gonna let it keep rolling. But all the puppy videos.
Do you follow the black man with the kittens? I can't think of his name right now.
Don't get me started. Really? Is there one?
Somebody sent me
his
page to follow. I have to send it to you.
But black people's pets on Instagram is everything. It is everything. That is the one. I'm addicted to that page. Yeah. But so what I stay away from, to answer your question, in my life diet, is I made the conscious decision to not consume, you know, information that's going to disturb my energy or bring me down, or not even just on the negative, anything that's going to distract me. It could be really, really positive, but if it's a distraction to me, I try to stay away from it. Yeah. So I'm getting much better about my internet consumption. That I'm more appreciative of how impactful that is on me. And so I'm really disciplined now around that area.
Ingesting food, ingesting information. It's all ingesting.
It's all the same thing.
Yep.
Literally all the same thing.
So if you were talking to someone who was at the very beginning of a journey to getting in alignment with themselves and their overall wellness, what are 2 things you would tell them to focus on?
Really getting clear on how you want to feel. Don't focus on the look as much. People come to me, and when I ask them what their goals are, they think automatically, oh, I want to lose X amount of pounds. I want to get into this size.
And it's fine, like, okay, for the summertime.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like, okay, that's great. That's great. That's great. I hear you. I get that. We'll talk about that for sure. But what do you want to feel like? And really try to imagine that as much as you can. So that would be the first thing, is just decide what you want to feel like. What do you want? And so, and along with that, like, what is the highest version of yourself look and feel like? You know, when you think about being her, whoever she is, what does it feel like to be her? What is she doing? How is she spending her days? What are the exercises that she does? Because if we have a fantasy that I'm going to be this fabulous person who never works out and never takes care of themselves, well, then you're literally living in fantasy land and nobody can help you. But when you bring that down to earth and you're like, I really want to grow and develop into being the best version of myself. I've got these goals and these plans. What does that literally look like? What time is she waking up? What does she do when she wakes up? What is she nibbling on? Like, imagine her, get into that body, get excited about creating this version of yourself. And then we can reverse engineer how you get there. Yeah. So, knowing yourself is going to be the first thing. And then I think, you know, I would probably say what we've already touched on, which is loving whoever you are today. You're not her yet, but it all starts and ends with loving who you currently are and all of the shit that got you, all the shit that got you there. We can't hate it, right? We have to be appreciative for all of the trials and tribulations along with the good stuff. Yeah, that brought us to the current place, and finding deep, deep appreciation, because a lot of people are reactive with their life. They're going to go do something to prove someone else wrong. They're going to do something, go achieve this because they didn't think you could. And that's a good way to get started, but you'll lose steam over that really, I won't say really quickly, but it's not sustainable.
It's that motivation.
Right.
That doesn't last. Yeah.
It doesn't last at all. And so, you know, finding letting your motivation and your inspiration stem from a deep, deep, deep love for who you are and what you appreciate about yourself is everlasting.
Yes.
It's everlasting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned it earlier, but talk a little bit more in depth about your company, Ori-Ara.
Yeah.
What it represents, even though you did mention that, but particularly you have an initiative happening right now that focuses on that auntie community.
I do.
You do. So talk a bit about Ori-Ara overall, and then your dedication to that group specifically.
Thank you for asking that.
Yeah.
So Ori-Ara it's everything. Again, I'm very passionate, unapologetically so. I feel like everything in my life, all of my work, all of my hobbies, all of my everything have lined up to bring me to the point where I could birth Ori-Ara. Ori-Ara it's Yoruba. Ori stands for purpose in life, and Ara stands for body. And there's a third one named Imi, which is spirit, but the Yoruba believe and understand that your body is absolutely part of the equation that takes you to your purpose in life. And so that's the name of Ori-Ara. It's the greater understanding that these bodies aren't just happenstance. It's not like, we walk around like I did when I was younger, very disembodied, not appreciating the physical home that is ours for the time that we're on this earth. And so, Ori-Ara is dedicated to wellness, but the bigger picture, what fuels me and what drives me and what has me working as hard as I do for Ori-Ara is that it is going to become a household name first and foremost.
I can absolutely see that.
Ori-Ara is going to be like Essence or Jet or Pink Oil, like back in the day.
Wait a minute.
Let me bring it home. Let me
Not
let it land.
The Pink Oil moisturizer.
But I wanted Ori-Ara is intended to be a brand name in Black households that represent health, well-being, Black excellence. And it's going to improve generations. That's the goal, is to improve the quality of health and therefore the quality of life of generations of Black families around the globe, because it starts with women, right? It starts with the mothers, if I can, and the aunties.
Yes.
But if I can, or when I, teach us the lessons that we've never been taught, especially for Black women. In general, people aren't being taught anymore how to care for their bodies. Women aren't being taught how to care for their bodies. It's just, it doesn't really happen. We don't have those rites of passage, that we used to have, but especially in the Black community, especially in the African American community, because, we weren't taught how to care for our bodies. Our bodies were never our own. When you think back to our grandmothers, we're not even that far back sometimes. Our bodies were literally the possession of somebody else.
Yeah.
We were not allowed to own them, let alone care for them. Are you kidding me? So we never got taught how to care for our bodies. So it's no wonder we're in the shape or lack thereof that we are today, because the lessons on health and nutrition and the things that were natural to us, that are our legacy, honestly, were lost over all of these years. And so Ori-Ara is stepping in and providing that education to women on how to care for your body so that you can not just physically be the representation that you want to be, but mentally and emotionally too. And my goal is to make sure
I swear. Is there a hearing loss clinic in Oakland? They have no short supply of patients. How you even ride around like that? I'm just like, surely hearing aid stock is sky high out of this area.
That is so funny. He just parked and posted. Like, I don't think he's pulling off anytime soon.
Just parallel park.
There he goes. But
he's gonna be on what for the rest of the day.
But my goal is I want little girls to grow up and know that their mother had gone to Ori-Ara and say that I want to be like my mom. I want to go to Ori-Ara too when I grow up, because it's where you go to be taught how to care for yourself. It's where you go. It's the unequivocal, leader in teaching women how to love themselves, love the skin they're in, take care of their bodies. And so that's the mission. All of that is to say that's the mission behind Ori-Ara. Because it's just, I think it's a real disservice to everyone that we just don't know how. It's not for lack of desire. I don't think it's for lack of anything other than education. We live in a world that's not built for our humanity to thrive. It really isn't. it's
It's
not
built for you to produce.
nothing. It's here for us to produce. It's not here for our humanity. And how the condition you're in while you're producing is of no importance to the people who want you to produce.
Yeah.
And we all feel that. I think that's part of some of the angst that's in the world right now is we're done with people telling us produce at your own detriment. And it's like, okay, now that we feel that way, but what do we do about it? Where do we go to learn how to live in this super efficient world? And I've done some speaking on about how this efficiency that we have in the world is robbing us of effectiveness. This is something that, Nana talks about in class, is that resistance, that friction, the things that make us just a little bit more difficult build strength in so many areas of our life that we don't realize we're missing out on because of all these conveniences. And we're weak as people as a result. Emotionally, mentally, and physically, we're weak because we've got so many efficiencies built into our world, and we take advantage of them thinking that we're living our best life when we're really weakening ourselves. And so it's not about necessarily introducing hardship, but it is about, okay, here are some of the things that the human body just needs to thrive and to be its best, to be at peak performance. Not for the world, but for you to feel your best. For you to be in touch with spirit, for you to want to open up and be seen by other people. There's so many what's the word, advantages, and there's so much value in learning to love yourself and be healthy because it opens up a whole world to you. Okay. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say it opens up to a whole world to you that we don't even know that we're missing out on. And I think that's one of the biggest things is that we are so comfortable in our discomfort. We have all of these efficiencies around us. And so it seems like we should be comfortable. But with all of these efficiencies around us, we're quite literally sitting in bodies that we're uncomfortable in. But we've gotten comfortable sitting in that discomfort because we don't know any better. Seriously, we get rocked to sleep and we don't know any better. And so this is about saying, okay, Ori-Ara is here to say, okay, for those who are ready, people who recognize that they're sitting in this discomfort and that there is a better way. For those who are ready, Ori-Ara is saying, okay, then I got you. I've made it to the other side. Let me grab your hand and we're going to walk this path together. It's not that complicated. I promise you. If I can do it, you can do it. It's really just a matter of us coming into awareness that we're living in an environment that's not meant for us to thrive. As soon as you have that awareness and that little bit of desire in your heart to explore more and find out more starts to grow and to bubble up, that's when we appear. That's when Ori-Ara will appear and say, okay, I got you. Let's go.
I love that. I love that. I'm so glad you came out.
Me too.
Today.
Me too.
Tell people where they can find information on Ori-Ara and on you.
Okay, so Ori-Ara and me, we're everywhere. So let me think. You can find us on Instagram, Ori-Ara. So Ori-Ara is Oriara. On Instagram, Ori, and then _Ara. So ORI_ARA. On Facebook, it's just Ori-Ara. You can find me. I'm Cassandra Delynn. Used to be known as Natural Fit Mom. That's a whole nother story for another day. But you can find me as Cassandra Delynn _Natural Fit Mom on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. I believe. And of course the websites, Ori-Ara.com and CassandraDelynn.com.
Yeah. And I'll post. So I know we're live today. What's up, Instagram? If you just happen to be on today, like you got a sneak preview, this is not actually the episode release, but when the episode does drop, I'll make sure I include the links to all of the places where you can interact with Cassandra and with Ori-Ara. And that's it. Episode 1, season 2. I'm so glad you got to be the first guest.
Thank you.
Yes, and I'm glad to be back on it. I no longer have 2 social media accounts, thank God. I don't know why I ever did. So I will say that if you want to follow me, get to know more about me in the podcast, please feel free to follow me on Instagram at Kaja versus Kaja. That's KAHJA_VS_KAHJA. And that's episode 1.
That's episode 1. Awesome.
Yes. See y'all for the next one. And thanks for coming out. Peace.